You're listening to the 4-Phase Cycle Podcast with your hosts, Dr. Alex and Megan of ZESTY Ginger. If you're looking to naturally balance hormones and learn how to work with your body instead of against it, you've definitely come to the right place. As a duo of an integrative MD and a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and best friends, we use the 4 phases of the female cycle in combination with functional lab work and mindset practices to transform the lives of the women we work with.
We also have a whole lot of fun along the way. If you're new around here, it's best to start with season 1 before jumping around and plan to roll up your sleeves. Showing up for ourselves and enjoying our lives is what good health is all about. Just a quick reminder though, this information is not intended to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your doctor before making changes.
Hello, beautiful, beautiful soul. Alex here, and we are on day 23 of our Flowing with Your Cycle series. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, we are inviting you to our Ultimate Hormone Health Blueprint series, totally free 4-part series. It's 3 videos, 3 video trainings, and then it culminates in a 4th live one. So come hang out with us. We'll be doing bonuses and freebies and all sorts of stuff. And also, it's just super fun to hang out live. So if you've been listening for a while, but you haven't come to a live session with us, please come, because we do a very interactive, we really just love hearing from you. It really lights us up to know exactly what you're dealing with, what's going on for you, and really our goal is to make things in real time that address whatever it is that you need. So while we grow, and you obviously see that reflected in what we teach, we're also very much watching and paying attention for what's going on for you, and that's what we make, that's what we teach, and we work it all in together. So please join us. The link is in the show notes. Otherwise, it's zestyginger.com/hormone blueprint. So awesome. Thank you for joining us if you're doing that. So day 23, let's chat. We're going to talk about service. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because it sounds like it's not about you when it's your cycle, but it absolutely is. So the reason that I'm bringing this up on day 23 is that there tends to be one of the phase 4 classics for what the brain is doing is that in phase 3 somewhat, in phase 4 especially, we tend to be bothered by other people. And we talked about in the beginning, our brain tends to nitpick ourselves. Now, obviously, this isn't cut in stone, but every time we talk to a group of women and we describe this, they're like, how did you read my mind and know that I was super snappy with my partner and yelled at the kids all day yesterday, right? Like, we can generally see very clear patterns from thousands and thousands of people that we interact with that these are common patterns. And of course, life throws us, different things here and there, but the patterns can help, right? When I get my period now and I go and I'm like, gosh, I really hate my hair today. I don't like how my makeup turned out. Don't really feel this outfit. It's a lot easier to be like, yes, I see you, brain. Thank you for the reminder to set aside some time and do, more of an assessment of what's happening. And so that it can be it can be guidance essentially from your own body to see those things, not make them mean something about you right off the bat like a reflex, but really see them as almost like a flashing light for a cross section. You're just having an awareness of it. Now, when you know the context of it, you also know what action to take to have a better experience. And the same thing here, irritability or being crabby with other people can happen and will happen, and it's really no problem in the grand scheme of things, right? It's not the crabbiness that's a problem. Of course, if it's driven by hormonal imbalances and all of these different aspects of ourselves that we haven't quite brought into wholeness, those are still goals, but do I think that, once that happens, I will never be crabby again? Probably not, but that's cool because the crabbiness will be less and less, and I will behave differently when it comes up. And also because it is now a marker for me to check in with myself when it does come up, that just means I have more to shift and grow into. And with that understanding, then it's a very different discussion and a focus on where you're going, who you're becoming, rather than, oh no, I did that thing again. Look at me, I suck. Which, let's face it, as as most of us experience, that is a much more common discussion than that, growth one where we cut ourselves some slack and really appreciate for ourselves for who we're becoming. So that's part of what we're going to talk about today. So irritability, crabbiness, kind of having run-ins with people can definitely happen in phase 4. And it's because we are finding that balance, checking in with ourselves, and it seems to be a little easier than for other people to mirror back to us places where potentially we are letting people cross boundaries, or where we have not expressed what we really need or want from those around us. Or maybe it's the systems that we have in place worked for us in the past, but they don't work for us anymore, right? Those things coming up help inform the inner work that we can do during this cycle. So service becomes a really cool idea to hang your hat on around this time, because it's not, when we think of service, a lot of times it's service to others, and there is a component of that which I'll talk about, but it's also service to ourselves, right? If we are working with others to, they're showing us things about ourselves and we're showing them things about them, we are all being of service to one another. So really think about it next time when you're kind of irritable, or someone's irritable with you, and you notice, like, Megan and I do this when our cycles aren't synced, someone will get kind of crabby or irritable. The impact on our relationship overall ends up being very positive now that we have come to a place where that irritability is viewed as a potentially positive thing that alerts us to where we have room to grow and also appreciate each other and ourselves. Right? So this is a little bit of a novel concept because most people are like, well, I just don't want to be crabby. And, in some scenarios that probably applies, right? All of this is very fluid. However, when we are of service to each other in the fact that we are mirroring to all, across to each other what is actually going on underneath the surface, we begin to strengthen the bonds of the relationship. But when we do it to ourselves too, it strengthens the bond and the trust between you and you. And you'll see how cycle after cycle, as you do that and you begin to show up for yourself in these very real, tangible ways, the self-trust and the self-esteem, the self-love, becoming who we are, they're all very much linked and they build on one another. So service does not mean that if we're irritable, we do things for others, right? That's not how I'm using the word service. The way that I am thinking about this is that when we begin to acknowledge that the work that we're doing on ourselves to improve our experience, even though it feels like, well, this is me doing this for me, we can actually stop to realize in those interactions, and at times when we just have the opportunity to sit with ourselves and think or journal or whatever, that as we grow and become more of our authentic selves, we become the answer to someone else's prayers, or however you want to, we become either the shining light for someone, or the example, or the role model, or just the impulse. Maybe you meet a stranger, maybe you've had this before, you meet someone and they say something and act in a way that maybe it was like a cashier interaction or someone at the post office, and all of a sudden you walk away being like, wow, what a cool way to live. I love that. I love that they said that. I love that they own that. I love that they are wearing that. Whatever it is, we can have these brief interactions, and that really goes to show how much us standing in our own power can impact the world positively around us. And what's even cooler about that is that once we can see that we can impact other people, and a lot of times we're looking at other people more, right? We care about them and we're focused on them. And as we change, we see that they're impacted in a positive way, and it's super motivating. The next step, the next level deeper, gets even better. And this one I'm still honestly trying to wrap my head around fully. But when we are surrounded by people we feel blessed to be around, when we see that we make a positive impact and that person grows, it also mirrors back to us, and we are allowed, and really I would say encouraged, to truly feel that, right? If you look around and everyone around you, like I had this yesterday actually at this part of the cycle, is I just thought about how amazing my support network was. And I had the thought, which I will say has not been top of mind yet, but this is where I'm going, of if there's no such thing as luck or coincidence, who am I being then to have that mirrored back to me? And I actually truly allowed myself to feel appreciation for that. So while you can be of service to others through the improvement, however you think about it, there's an interplay. It's not just about the other person. Just like irritability with someone is not all about what they're doing, right? It's mirroring back to what you have going on internally and what they're showing you about yourself. And the same thing is also true as we become in service to others. As we improve, then that impacts them, and we can also appreciate that we played our role in that, and that does say something about us. So see how this works? This is not a list of ways that you want to improve yourself and make yourself better so that you can be perfect, and if you're not, you're going to beat yourself up. And I'm going to communicate at this part of the cycle because I want that person to stop doing it, and if my partner would just stop doing that, then I would be happy. That again is artificially chunking up our experience in the world, but it also is a missed opportunity, at least that's my interpretation, to really view the interactions between people of being always bi-directional. It's always showing us something, and that's true whether we have decided it's a good thing or we have decided it's a bad thing, right? With service then, we can really begin to notice at times of irritability or being crabby with people, the invitation is to take a step back in that moment once you notice it happening. Now, maybe you notice yourself being irritable and you're like, I'm going to go for a walk, or maybe you've already yelled at the kids and then you put yourself in your own little timeout and go for a walk. It does not matter. So wherever you've caught yourself in that, step number one is to take the opportunity, as much as life allows, to connect with yourself. With that comes the question of what happened there. Just doing a little assessment of, in that interaction, what was I being shown about myself? And then the next question is, out of the things that I have learned about myself through this interaction, this is putting on your own oxygen mask first, how was this in service to me? Right? Because it begins to change the conversation from, I asked him to let me know when he's leaving work so dinner can be ready so the kids don't get grumpy or whatever, to, how is it that this is showing me my expectations, my beliefs? Really, are there boundaries that I'm overstepping that it rubs me so much the wrong way that this is happening, right? It's generally triggering you to let you know that something is going on. It's just the same as any other symptom like spotting. It's a communication with your body. This is more of a communication. What is really going on? And when we ask those questions, being of service to ourselves looks like, sometimes it's setting boundaries. Sometimes it's explaining to someone how that impacts us so that they understand we're not just asking because you feel like being a control freak, this is what's going on for me. And then the person can be like, oh, I get it. Because, haven't you had that? Megan and I do it all the time where I'm like, I don't know why she's asking me to do, this email or this video has to be this way or whatever. And then she explains to me and I'm like, oh, I totally get that. I didn't even think of it, right? My brain didn't even go there. And so while we love to use the, like, they know me better and they should know, sometimes it still really just comes down to it's our job to express what we need, not the other person's job to sit around and guess what that may be. And it also goes for when you've said it multiple times, either there is not an understanding in terms of how the person can receive the message, or, really when it comes to relationships, sometimes it really begins to highlight, is there an aspect of the relationship or potentially even the relationship at large that is not working for us? Okay? And that becomes a really important thing to also think about. And wherever you are is wherever you are, or in your relationships, but there's the invitation of either addressing it or deciding that this is not something that you want to put time and energy into. So being of service to yourself, or perceiving how is this being of service to me and how can I show up in service to myself, is step number one. And then within that discussion, when we determine that this is a relationship that's important to us and we are choosing to maintain it, then the next question is, how are we being of service to the other person? Because really, for these relationships we intend and choose to keep around, most of us want to choose a win-win situation, or win-win-win. Win for you, win for them, win for the relationship. So even when there's a component of, I need to send a boundary, that's my service to myself, and that's what the irritability was showing me, but also potentially checking in, this is my boundary, but I also know that you have needs. As I ensure that I get what my boundaries are and what I need, I am also looking to show you that I care about what you need and what your boundaries are. And you have probably also experienced that when you come to someone and it's very clear, or someone comes to you and it's very clear that yes, they want something to happen, but they're very much in it to hear your perspective, appreciate what you're bringing to the table, acknowledge what's going on for you. For the most part, those are not the irritability that turned into a knockout fight, right? That is usually not how we get there. And so this whole service thing, as you put on your own oxygen mask, it does make it easier to see that other side, show up in that loving way, and really begin to flow with the people that we're flowing down the river with in our life. Like, we are just kind of jiving in a way that is attempting to be a win-win-win for everyone across the board. So, irritability, while, it's something that is absolutely great to work on. That's what we do, in our Healthy Hormones group. We're doing the neurotransmitter test. A lot of times there's serotonin, dopamine things going on there that impact that. There's also the sex hormones themselves, especially if the cycle's not set up correctly. All of that is absolutely a piece of this. And still, like I said, it's not the goal to get rid of all irritability, and as long as we are living, there's these cycles. And so all of these aspects of ourselves are really powerful and can be viewed as gifts if we are willing to see it. All right, I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for coming out to hang with us on the podcast. It is our goal to transform the way women are treated in healthcare. And we need your help. We need your help to get the word out. We have a lofty goal of 1 million downloads. And we know that as this podcast grows, we're going to be able to reach more women, get more amazing speakers for you, and bring the most cutting-edge information.
If you found these pod classes helpful, please take a moment to text 5 women you know the link to the series. We appreciate your help so much. Can't wait to see you next time.